These roasted potatoes are perfectly crispy, crunchy, and full of flavour. They're so simple and easy to make, and I'm going to share with you how. Welcome to Recipes by Karina, where I show you how to make classic and simply delicious recipes. Make sure to subscribe for a new video each week. I also have a few other potato recipes, perfect fluffy mashed potatoes and creamy indulgent potato bake if you're looking for something a little different. To start, you're going to need some potatoes. There are a few tips and tricks to getting the perfect roast potato, and the first one being the type of potatoes you are using. There are two main categories, waxy and starchy. Waxy potatoes are great for salads, stews, or just boiling as they hold together really well and have a firmer texture, but for this recipe you'll need a starchy potato. Starchy potatoes have a higher starch content than waxy, and starch is the main reason for your potatoes having the fluffy, creamy texture in the centre. So an important tip here is to use starchy potatoes. Look out for the packaging and it should tell you what they are best used for. Popular varieties of starchy potatoes include Yukon Golds, Agria and Russet, but there are so many different varieties. I'm using pre-washed potatoes here, so I'm going ahead and peeling them, but if you aren't, give them a good scrub with cold water to remove any dirt. For the best texture and crunchiness to your potatoes, I do recommend peeling the skin off, but if you would prefer to leave it on, you completely can. If you would like the full recipe for these perfect roasted potatoes, it will be on my website as well as the full measurements in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out my mashed potato and creamy potato bake recipes. Using a sharp knife, slice your potatoes in half, quarters or thirds. This all depends on the size of your potatoes and what size you want your roasted potatoes to be. You can easily leave them whole if you would prefer, but usually the larger you leave them, the longer they will take to cook. I'm using medium-sized potatoes, so I'm slicing each in half. It's not the most important thing to make sure your potatoes are the exact same size, as they will all cook completely. They'll be in the oven for over an hour, so as long as a few aren't 3 times the size as the rest, you won't have any issues. Place your potatoes in a large saucepan and fill the pot with water until it covers the potatoes. If you're prepping this dish in advance, you can get them to this stage and put the saucepan with the potatoes and water into the fridge until you're ready to cook them. Place the saucepan over high heat and bring to the boil. Our aim here isn't to cook the potatoes fully, just to soften the outside. There are two main reasons why we are doing this. The first is to rough up the edges of the potatoes, and the second is to dry them out. Boiling the potatoes to dry them out may seem a little odd, but once they are drained, any excess water will steam off, leaving a dry outside, which is one of the tricks to getting them super crispy. This should only take about 10 minutes, so while the potatoes are boiling, in a large baking dish add your oil and butter. With roast potatoes, I like to use both, as I think the butter really adds a great flavour, but you can just use oil if you would prefer. It's not a great idea just to use butter though, as with such a high heat it tends to burn. Add your oil and butter to the baking dish. I'm using about a tablespoon of vegetable oil and a couple of tablespoons of butter. Place the baking dish into your hot oven to melt and heat the oil and butter so you get a good sizzle when adding the potatoes. After about 10 minutes, check on your potatoes. Using a knife, pierce the potato, and if the knife easily sinks in just a centimetre or half an inch, the potatoes are ready to be roasted. Drain the potatoes in a colander and leave them for a minute or two until they stop dripping and steaming. You want to remove as much of the water as possible here, so it's important that you give them enough time to properly dry. The next trick to getting the perfect roast potatoes is roughing up the edges. You want to create an uneven surface, as smooth potatoes just won't get crispy. All the rough parts are where it's going to get so crunchy and perfect. The easiest way to do this is to just shake them around in the colander. Don't be afraid of damaging the potatoes here, they won't bruise and they shouldn't fall apart as they aren't fully cooked yet. Remove your hot baking dish from the oven and pour in your potatoes, giving them a quick shake around to coat in the hot butter and oil. Season with a really decent amount of salt. Adding it now, it will stick to your potatoes instead of when they are cooked. These are ready to be roasted now, but there are a few options for adding more flavour. I like to add a bit of garlic and some herbs. The garlic doesn't need to be prepped at all, just throw 3 to 4 whole cloves in, no need to peel, as when they roast, the flavour should infuse through the skin. Rosemary is the more traditional herb to use with roasted potatoes, but I always find it very strong, so I'm going with a few sprigs of thyme. You can use a mixture of both, it's completely up to you. Use a spoon to toss everything together so the potatoes are well coated and place them into a 200°C or 400°F oven for about an hour and 10 minutes. They will need a toss halfway through, but these are really low maintenance once they're in the oven, so just set a timer and forget. These roasted potatoes make the perfect side dish to nearly any meal. Don't forget to check out my perfect mashed potatoes and indulgent creamy potato bake. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this recipe and I'll see you in my next video.